Introduced me by the company Clean and Feed, and usually that throws people off. In fact, when I first registered the name Clean and Feed, what happens is the Yellow Page people get a hold of you because they're all new businesses, and I got a notice in the mail for livestock. They wanted to put my name in the livestock category in the Yellow Pages. Sorry, that's not what I'm talking about. And in fact, I wasn't even going to even talk about that tonight. But I will just say the Clean and Feed concept is really based on the idea that we need to take care of our bodies from a perspective of keeping it clean and feeding it. And we do that every day, right? We take showers and we do all that. Well, we also have to clean the inside as well. I'm going to go right into my talk here. So the Clean and Feed concept is more of a shell of it holds all of these ideas that I'm going to talk about. Tonight, what I'm going to talk about is what I call the 4 pillars of health. And this is something that's easier for people to grasp on because is anyone out there just a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of health information that we see? Just a little bit, right? I mean, it seems like everywhere you turn, you got a new diet, a new exercise program, or a new machine that's going to transform your life. And usually what it does is ends up downstairs in the basement, or it's a very expensive coat rack. Or it's something that you try out for a while, but you know, it's just not part of you. You know, it sounded like a good idea, but translating into your life just wasn't going to happen. So what I did was after 20 years of being a vegetarian and really being passionate about health and listening to doctors and health experts and shows, and I finally, you know, really boiled that all down, and really everything boils down to 4 things. The 4 pillars of health are live foods, oxygen, and we'll go into some more depth, water, and positive emotions. That's it. Our body needs live foods, it needs oxygen, and if anyone has any questions about the oxygen, we can all hold our breath, right? That's not going to happen. We really need oxygen, and there's a reason for that. And water, and positive emotions. Now, because we have so much time and so little to say in the 20 minutes, I could reverse that. Did anyone see Willy Wonka? Yeah, that's a little play on that. We really, what we need to do is break things down so they're digestible, no pun intended, but really break them down into parts that we can use in our life. And these 4 tools are great, but if I were to barrel through all this stuff, and you can go home and you say, I got all my tools, boy, this guy showed me all this stuff, you get home with all these tools, but does that mean you can create health with it? For instance, if I were to give you all the tools necessary to build a house, hammer, saws, screwdrivers, and then you take all this stuff home, can you build a house? And the answer is no, of course, right? Because we need knowledge to build the house, not just the tools. Now, the knowledge is but knowledge actually isn't really quite everything we need, is it? Because we all know what we should do, right? We all know we should exercise. We all know we should drink more water. We heard that somewhere. We all know we should eat more fruits and vegetables. But do we do it? So I like to think of what I call is awareness, energy awareness. We need to be more aware of how powerful these tools are. Let's take water, for example. About 17 years ago, there was a hurricane out in Long Island. I live out in Long Island. And I lived in an apartment on top of a house. And I lived near the water. So the hurricane was coming. That was exciting stuff. I mean, I took my tape recorder, I went down to the beach, and I'm sitting there doing a news report as the hurricane's rushing in. My wife thinks I'm completely nuts, of course. I got out of there before the big part hit, obviously. But what we had to do is we had to actually vacate. It was a mandatory evacuation. When we came back, all the electricity was off. Now, this brought up an interesting point, because without electricity, we had a pump system in the house. We could not get running water. So basically what happened is, by losing our running water, the apartment became inhabitable. We couldn't live there. Now imagine going home tonight waking up tomorrow morning and going to turn on your shower and not getting any water out? Okay, so, oh, I can go a day without shower. Maybe none of us can go a day without shower, but a day we can do. How about 2 days? How about 3 days? How about going to the bathroom? Oh, you can't do that either because there's no water in the toilet. Are we beginning to catch the picture? Imagine New York City going a week without water in the toilet. That's how vital it is. Think about it. We need to connect the dots between water is that essential. Now, we're just talking about plumbing here. What about our internal plumbing? What happens when we don't give the insides of our body enough water to function? Now, we all have heard that we're mostly water, right? We're 70% water. If you don't know that, that's basically the percentage. You know, might be a little higher, a little lower. But we're basically walking bags of water, these bodies that we have. Now imagine taking that bag of water and decreasing the water by 1%, 2%, 3%. Dr. Batman Heldish wrote a book called You're Not Thirsty. You're not sick, you're just thirsty. Okay? So when we have a water drop in our body, just of a couple percentage points, all cellular functions in the body are affected. Now, what does that mean? Well, our cells, just like we do, we have to poop, pee, and perspire. Our cells do the same thing. And without water, the plumbing gets backed up. Now, can anyone tell me, where does disease start? When you get a disease like cancer, where does it start? Well, that's you're jumping ahead, but but where does it start physically? Where can we track it? At the cell level. Dr. Warburg, he is a Nobel Prize-winning chemist. He did tests on cells, and he found that if he could decrease the oxygen content around the cell by 30%, the cell became cancerous. All he did was decrease the oxygen, and he did this repeatedly. He won a Nobel Prize for it. Decrease the oxygen content around the cell, and the cell turns cancerous. You have a healthy cell, decrease the oxygen, you get cancer. Prove this. Guess what happens when you decrease the water in your body? You cut off oxygen to the cells. We need to start connecting the dots. So when people say, well, you know, you should drink 6 glasses of water a day. You know, we have this, we all know that, right? We say, yeah, I know that. I should do that. Oh, I didn't really drink my 6 glasses today, or 8 glasses, whatever it is. Guess what? We are walking around in a state of dehydration constantly. And if we do that, we are maintaining an environment that's cutting oxygen off to our cells and creating disease. Now, this is all science. But they don't tell us this. They don't tell us something so simple as drinking water could keep you out of the doctor's office. Now again, we're only looking at one pillar, water. But you start to see the possibility for transforming your health just with one thing. Now, personally, 8 glasses, 6 glasses, it's kind of arbitrary. I usually aim for 3/4 to a gallon a day, and that's what we all should be doing. Think of yourself as this. Think of yourself as a dam, you know, with water. That water needs to be spilling over the dam constantly. Why? Because our cells are pooping, they're peeing, they're perspiring all the time. They're like little factories. So anytime our water level drops, our cells are going, we got a problem down here. I have waste products I got to get rid of. And our body needs that water to get rid of the waste products. Not only does it need the water to get rid of the waste products, it needs it to actually assimilate nutrients. So when we decrease our water in our body, we don't absorb the nutrients we need. It's a double whammy. Something as simple as water. And that's only one pillar. What happens when we turn our microscope on to the other pillars of health? Let's look at live food, for example. What is a live food? Does anyone know what a live food is? Something eaten in a raw state. Yes? Anybody else? Is that pretty much it? Something has not been processed. So I think that's also correct. You're drinking your water. I could actually use some up here. Is there any left in here? By the way, by the time you feel thirst in your mouth, if you think that, well, I'll just go based on what my body's telling me to drink water because I'm thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So forget it. You need to be ahead of the game. You need to keep that water flowing over the dam constantly. All right, live foods. Think of, sure.
What do you do like at night? Like, because that goes into your sleep. Like, what do you do? Like, then it goes into your sleeping pattern if you don't sleep.
You mean to get up and pee, you mean?
Yeah.
You got to pee. You see, my wife has a problem with that also because she's a teacher. And for example, teachers have a problem with water consumption because they're in the classroom, they can't leave the kids, especially when they're little kids. That's a problem. And statistically, more teachers have kidney stones because they can't drink enough liquids. It's a direct result of not drinking enough liquids. If you know that you gave yourself enough water throughout the day, you can lay off towards the night. So you gauge it. Drink your water when you know you can. And then when you get into that 9 o'clock area, a couple hours before bed, because water, I mean, come on, you drink some water, you got to go in 15 minutes, right? So just gauge it that way. But get your water in during the day. Live foods, think of it this way. Where do we get all our energy from? The sun, exactly. Because the sun, without the sun, this planet would not exist. No life would exist. So what happens is that sun beams its energy down to the ground. The plants respond and convert that energy into a form we can utilize. So what we're actually doing is eating the sun's energy. If you think about it, if you start connecting the dots. So the further you move away from that connection, the more steps you take, the further you move away from the energy of the sun. The less life there is inherently in the food. So, it's funny because people always say, well, you should eat this, you should eat that, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. Forget it. All you have to do is every time you sit down to eat, look at your plate and say, how alive is this? How close is this to the sun? Does it look like a lot of chemicals were used to process it? Does it look like it's in its natural form? Was it changed a lot? Are there some funky colors on the plate that don't look like they occur naturally in nature? We just had a party the other day, for my sons. We had a cast party. And, we had this cake. I was talking, of course, I was doing my talk with the kids. And while they're eating their cake, had blue and reds. I know, right? I never let up. And by the way, I had some cake. So this is not about being perfect. But it's about recognizing I don't expect to get energy from this. I don't expect to live from this. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not eat this food over years and then say, oh my God, I have cancer. How did this happen? Let's not delude ourselves. Part of this, go ahead.
Is all water the same or there are certain brands that
There's a lot of controversy about that, and what I do personally is I have a water filter, a reverse osmosis water filter on my system in my house, so I just you eliminate the variables there. That's what I would suggest. Number one, first of all, you're not going to be able to buy all the water. Talking about finances, we really got to create some finances to buy all the water we really need to drink. And also, the fact that, a lot of these companies, I don't know if you know it, but Poland Spring's been bought out by Nestle. I don't want to go there, but it's no longer that nice Poland Spring, company we all thought. It's, Coca-Cola's and the Nestle's is moving in on this. Get yourself a water filtration system, hook it up underneath your sink, and you're done. But what we need to do is start connecting these dots in terms of food, live food, water. Let's look at oxygen. Most people don't know how to breathe. Most people breathe shallow, right? Why don't we all do that? Because I guarantee you, we're all breathing shallow right now, right? Just take a deep breath. Get some energy in. This is free, people. Think about it. The Creator put all this here for free. The Creator did not endow the guys in the white suits to heal us, although they would like to think that they are taking the place of the Creator. Right? Cancer is this mysterious thing. You need us to battle it. But you don't need to breathe deep. You don't need to drink water. And you don't need to eat live foods. You just keep buying Entenmann's. You keep drinking your coffee. You keep dehydrating your body. And when you feel a little, come see me. My friend, I had an interesting conversation with my friends. We were talking about getting our prostate checked because I'm at that age. And we were sitting around the table and they were going, "Are you going to get your prostate checked?" And I said, "No, wasn't even in my consciousness." And then they said, "That you're taking a risk." And I turned to them and I said, "That's really interesting." I say, "What's more of a risk? Eating the way you eat, which I know causes cancer and prostate, or eating those foods and taking care of my body where I know I'm not going to get that?" And we're talking about science here. Let's demystify this. Let's cast a light on it. You ever go into a room that's really dark and you're kind of like, "Oh my God, I can't see." But when you flick on the light, all of a sudden, you can see. And the mystery's gone. Why have they made disease such a mystery? Why don't we trust our Creator? Why don't we trust it? And it doesn't matter what denomination you are, what you want to call God, Buddha, Allah, it doesn't matter. It exists. Our bodies were made to eat the food that comes out of the ground. Period. There's nothing complicated about it. Until we make it complicated, because we're just so smart. As human beings, we're just so smart. I know what I could do with that whole wheat. I could take it and pull out the germ, pull out the bran, and then we'll make Wonder Bread. Got great shelf life, and profits are soaring. A lot of truth in that, right? What makes us so smart? And then we wonder why we have to sit on the toilet for about an hour. I could talk about this for a long, long time, so I'm going to move right over to positive emotions here. There is a saying that's interesting, though. It's like if you think of yourself, what goes in one end has got to come out the other. If you take the food in, you got to take the garbage out. And we should be going to the bathroom 2 to 3 times a day. Now, in a perfect world, for every meal you eat, you're supposed to be pooping. In a perfect world. I'm not at that place. I go steadily twice a day. But I also notice that the whole thing changes when I don't drink enough water. And the food, and the oxygen. All right, let's do this. I want to show you a quick exercise with oxygen. Let's stand up. I want to show you this quick exercise so you can take this home with you, because this is a way to really oxygenate your body. Now, we're going to do this standing up, and I'm going to demonstrate this to you first. And then you can do it. What we're going to do is you're going to march your feet up like this, and it's called the choo-choo train. Okay? So you're going to blow out 3 times, and then in 3 times. And it's also good to wave your arms, because that also moves the lymphatics in your body, which moves all those toxins around the cells and just gets everything going. Okay. Now, how do you feel? Getting things moving? This is all. Now, I know. People are going like, what is going on in there? You can do this. Take a break from working on the computer. You can do this while you're walking a couple blocks down the street to pick up your latte. So I'm not saying not to drink the latte, but oxygenate your body on the way. Because we don't breathe enough. We don't give ourselves enough oxygen. Now, the last thing, let me ask you something. This is a little trick question, but how did we just do that? How did we just stand up? What happened in order for us to stand up? How did we do that?
Choice.
We made a choice, which started here, right? So this is another little trick the Creator built into this. You know? And if you think about it, what if when the Creator gave us free will, the Creator was actually saying, well, how long do you want to live? Free will. Now, embedded in that is, I gave you what you need to do that. Right? But what if that's what it meant? Think about it. Right now, you're sitting on someone's thought. Where do you think this started? Think this just appeared? This was inside someone's head. The technology to create the wood, to put it together. The color green, the dyes that were brought out of the earth. I don't even know how they do it, but it started off with scientists and labs and testing. This whole building. The metals that are mined, the fan, everything is a thought, started as a thought. So, by connecting these dots of what I think, I create my reality. We're good, okay, thanks. I can keep going. When we start connecting, when it comes to our emotions, what we think has a physical manifestation. Proof positive, we're sitting on it. Proof positive, if that's the connection, if that is the relationship, I think, and the physical world happens, right? In general, that's the general observable theory. Then what about our bodies? Our bodies are a physical manifestation. The same principle must apply. In fact, it was proven that when people were told they were going to die by their doctor, statistically, they died sooner. And scientifically, they proved it because they could take pictures of the immune system and see less activity in the immune system because the boss said, we're checking out of here. And they said, okay, we're closing shop, we're done. So putting all these things together, using our thoughts and understanding that when you're in that car and someone cuts you off and you say, son of a bitch, right? We've all been there. That's why you're laughing. Yeah, I've been there. Hello, me too. Guess what? You think your body's hearing it? You think your cells are hearing it? All right? Or cultivating ideas of love and compassion. Letting go of those anger thoughts. Letting go of fear. Because when you connect, this fear is killing me. Forget about them. This anger is killing me. Forget about who I'm directing it. I don't care what they did. It's killing me. Okay? All right, so I got my time. I've got to go. Bye. Thank you all very much, and I appreciate time.